Hello, Amherst High School. This is Mrs. Smith, and I am here to talk to you about this wonderful, unique experience we have coming up on April 8th, and that is a total solar eclipse. I'd like to get into what a total solar eclipse is, why we have them, and what are some safety things that we have to keep in mind as we go ahead and observe the eclipse on April 8th. I would like to also point out that you have an extra day of spring break because of the eclipse passing through Buffalo, New York, and this rare, amazing experience. So you actually won't be returning to school until Tuesday the 9th. So let's get into it and talk about what a total solar eclipse is. So the reason for an eclipse is that the fact that the moon is going to pass between us and the sun. Now the moon travels around on its orbit, takes almost a month's time to get around us once. And every single time it moves around us, it does technically get in between us and the sun. However, the orbital path occasionally teeter-totters. And so sometimes, as you can see in diagram 1 at the top, we can have the moon perfectly line up between us and the sun, creating this type of an eclipse. But other times, when the moon's orbit teeter-totters up or down, you can see in the second diagram that it might actually not truly get in the way, and we won't have an eclipse. So that is why these are a little less common and not happening every month. And thus, because of that, people will travel for thousands of miles to actually go and witness a total solar eclipse. So expect to have a lot more people in Western New York. They're calling from anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million people coming here to view this unique experience. So if we go ahead and take a look at the shadows that are cast by an eclipse, you will see that there is a darker center part of the shadow, and then there is a lighter outer part of the shadow. These are called the umbra and the penumbra. If you are caught within that dark center part of the shadow, like we will be in Western New York, you will be lucky enough to experience a total solar eclipse. However, if you are caught in the lighter part of the shadow, you will only receive a partial eclipse. And as you can see on this day, a lot of people on the planet won't have an eclipse at all because the dark and light parts of the shadow will never be near them. So again, we are very fortunate to have this occurring here, and it's looking to be a really good show as long as we can cross our fingers and hope that the weather stays nice and clear. So there are different kinds of solar eclipses. The first is a total eclipse, which is what we will be experiencing on April 8th. The second is an annular eclipse, and the third is a partial eclipse. So as I already mentioned, the total solar eclipse happens when the Earth is caught in the darkest part of that center umbra shadow. As you saw from the previous pictures, it's not big enough of a shadow to allow the entire Earth to have this experience, which is why it is unique, and people will again come and travel to witness these things taking place because it's a very small path that you are caught in to get that experience. An annular eclipse is very similar to a total eclipse. However, there are times when the moon is closer to us, and there are times when the moon is farther away. I can take my thumb and I can close one eye and pull my thumb closer and block out really large objects in my room. However, if I move my thumb farther away, now I'm only blocking out part of those objects. When the moon is closer to us, it is like my thumb being right in front of my eye, and I get more blocked out. And that is why we're going to be able to experience our total solar eclipse, because the moon is closer to us in its orbit. But when it is farther away in its orbit, it is like moving your thumb further away and less is blocked. So you get a ring of light around the moon that you can still see, and that makes it an annular eclipse. Lastly, there's a partial eclipse, which I already mentioned could occur if you're caught in the penumbra or the lighter part of the shadow, or if that orbit is not perfectly aligned, but somewhat caught up in there casting a shadow on the Earth. You can also see a partial eclipse then. But again, we are very fortunate this time to have that total solar eclipse coming through. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map. You'll notice here that a lot of the country is going to be experiencing some version of an eclipse. However, the total path, and Buffalo being right here on the tip of Lake Erie, we are right in the center of that umbra. So we are going to experience 100% coverage of the sun. And that's unique in and of itself because the sun has this atmosphere around it, this corona that we're often unable to see One, because we don't look at the sun with our eyes directly, and two, it's drowned out by the light of the sun. This is going to be a great opportunity for us to see the corona of the sun in those 4 minutes that we will be experiencing totality for this eclipse. So if you're anywhere along this line in the United States and you've got good enough weather, you should be able to see the total eclipse. And as you see, the rest of the United States is going to be experiencing some version of a partial eclipse. So what should you expect when you're looking at eclipse? Well, what's going to happen is that the sky is going to start to darken as if it is dusk or dawn outside. And then what you're going to see is, again, as I mentioned, that glowing of the corona, which we can very nicely see right here. And then as we move out of what we call totality, you'll start to see a little bit of light, usually coming through some of the craters on the moon. And eventually the light will get brighter and we'll start to see the sun more and more. Again, we have a great picture here of that umbra shadow and that penumbra around it as well. So here is a view from space. This is an actual satellite photo of the shadows during an eclipse passing over through the Earth, and anybody caught within that shadow is getting a version of an eclipse. I also have a video here that I'll show you quickly that is from a total solar eclipse that happened in Antarctica, and people actually went there and camped out to catch it. So let's take a look. And there's your totality and your ring of the corona, and then the light comes back. Now this was time lapsed, so it definitely won't be that fast for you. The totality time will be about 4 minutes, so you can really get a good look at that corona. So now let's go ahead and check out this next slide, which is talking about safety, which is incredibly important here. So the first thing you want to make sure you have is a pair of solar eclipse safety glasses. These are not regular sunglasses. Your sunglasses are, you cannot look at the sun directly with them without causing some version of eye damage. You also do not want to look through any type of device like a phone camera, a regular camera, a binoculars, or a telescope, unless you have special solar filters put on them, because the concentration of the light can again cause severe eye damage. I have a video here that is showing you how to create a pinhole type device that allows you to see the eclipse if you don't have enough pairs of safety glasses to go along. But hopefully, at least if you have one pair within that 4 minutes of time, and then the time before and after, you can share and pass the glasses around to people that you're hanging out with. You want to also make sure that you are being aware of your pets. Some pets might get really confused as to what's happening with the darkness coming in. So if you have a skittish pet, you want to make sure that they're not outside with you. Just keep them in the house and keep them calm, because for that few minutes, they might be very confused and start getting anxious and upset. There is another way here that I am blocking with my face, so I'm going to move that over, that you can create a pinhole viewer. Just simply take an index card and pop a hole in the middle. Place the index card out in the light and project that pinhole dot onto a piece of paper or a nice smooth flat surface, and you will be able to watch the eclipse shadow move through that pinhole. You again are not looking through the pinhole or looking at the sun in any way. You want to just look at the light that is being projected from that pinhole onto your paper. So lots of different ways that you can watch it if you don't have enough pairs of glasses. So lastly, let's take a look at the time frame. Again, Monday, April 8th, 2024, your last day of spring break. The partial eclipse, as the shadow is starting to get in the way of the sun, is going to start at 2:04. Then we will hit totality at 3:18. The peak center of totality will be at 3:20, and totality ends at 3:22 for a total of 4 minutes of totality, where you technically can look at the sun without your safety glasses, but I still don't recommend it, because when that light pops back out, it's very dangerous to hit your eyes. But you can definitely look for that corona within that 4 minutes. And then it'll start to move back out, and we'll have a partial eclipse until 4:32. So always make sure that you have your safety glasses on. And again, this is what we're looking for, that shadow coming in front of the sun as it moves in, gives us totality, and moves back out. So let's cross our fingers that we have a nice, sunny, beautiful day so that we can all enjoy this amazing experience. See you later, Amherst.